Hey guys, Tennessee Yankee, welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to be doing some test plots, if you will, on some acid concrete stain. I want to stain my front porch, and I've never used this product, and I have a section on the side of my house that I'm going to test. It's about 75 inches wide, and I'm going to test that area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down some amber, which the colors I got were amber, caramel, and then I'm going to do a section where I mix the two together. And then I'm also going to brush in the front of each section just so I can see the difference between it just getting sprayed on and it getting brushed in. And then what I may want to do later is go back over it before I seal it and do another small section where I put a double coat on after it's already been dried, cured, and neutralized. So what I got for this test is I picked up a small little cheap sprayer, and the reason I got this little one is just to do my small amounts. So I'm gonna have to be careful not to waste too much, and I don't know how much I need for the test. So I'm just gonna use this little sprayer. I'll measure out a certain amount, and then I'll pour it back, and hopefully I'll get an idea of how much I use in the test plot so that when I mix one together, I won't waste more than I need if I don't like the way that looks. So I also got a 1 gallon cheaper sprayer because most of the sprayers I have are either too nice or they're too big. So picked up one of these cheap Chapins, the small one and this one. So the reason I got this one set up is I'm going to use this to wet the concrete before I start it, just to moisten it so the stain is applied evenly and just doesn't dive into the dry spots. So I filled up both of these with water, and I've tested the spray pattern already to make sure it's set the way I want it. This particular one here had a little lock mechanism on it that kept locking on me, so it would spray more than I wanted. So I just taped that back right now. So I got some gloves. I got my measuring stuff, and these are the ones I'm going with. The Vivid from Amazon. They have about 12 colors. So if this works out, we'll test the test pattern, and then I'll eventually film me doing my front porch. But I just want to see and show you guys how these colors turn out. And of course, they're going to be very different by the time it comes around to sealing them in. And then after this sits for 24 hours, I got to go over it, and you'll just neutralize it with baking soda and water to stop any acid reaction. So I got that, and then I also made up this little paperboard template that you'll see here. This is just going to be my divider between my sections. Okay, so let's get this amber stuff ready. We'll get some gloves on. I went ahead and put long sleeve shirt on and everything because pants, if I get some acid on my arm, that's not going to feel good. So got some safety glasses going here. I don't have to be quite as careful with my first batch because I can dump it back in since it's not mixed. So I'll probably just put enough in here that hopefully I can get my sprayer to work good. I'm not sure there's a required minimum amount to get your small sprayer to spray well. So these came really well packaged from Amazon. I'll show you. They came in this heavy duty box. They had it wrapped in plastic. They had bubble wrap, and they had tape wrapped all around the lid. So one of them came with just a few droplets on the outside because I think the cap was just a little bit loose, but other than that, they were shipped well. I was a little concerned about ordering a big gallon like this, but it turned out well. All right. I might as well get the other cap off while we're in the mood. Okay, I lightly shook these up. So again, we're going to start with the amber color here. I'm just going to fill this 1 cup container, transfer it over to the sprayer. And since I can dump this one back, I'm probably just going to put 2 cups in. And then we'll see how much we end up with. It's probably barely going to take a few ounces. So the coverage for this stuff is supposed to be 200 to 400 square feet per gallon. And when I get around to doing my front porch, it's about 215 square feet. So overall here, I got about 400 to 600 square foot of coverage. So more than enough. And you can dilute this 50% with water, but I'm just going to go straight on it. Okay, so we got our, what is it, our 16 ounces in the sprayer right now. So we'll put this back together. Now let's go around to the side of the house where we got the concrete prepped and cleaned. I'll put a little video in there showing you how I cleaned it with my new power nozzle. So we'll go over there and then we'll put down our divider and put some of the amber down. Okay guys, so here's my test plot. You can see the cement's all nice and clean and dry. So I have everything masked off here. Okay, so our first step is we're gonna moisten the cement, and I'm probably just gonna do the section that I'm working on right here. The unfortunate thing I've noticed about doing this is the second I wet this, these insects seem to want to come over here and hang out. So they ain't gonna like it if they get stained. That really dives in, so you can see why you want to do this, to just get it moist first so the stain goes on more evenly. Trying to see where when it finally stops diving in, I think that'll be pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Now we're going to put down our divider section about a third of the way in. Try some of this first color. most ideal nozzle on this one, but it should work for our test plot. Really hard to get these ones pressurized. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's going on so thick. Definitely not ideal. Just gonna let that sit a minute, start to foam, and then I'll brush the front section. Okay, it's been sitting about 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little brush in the front. It definitely applied way thicker than I want to. I ended up returning about 4 ounces of that last color to the jug. So ideally, I probably would like to be applying this test patch with the better 1 gallon sprayer, but I think it'll still give us a close idea. Right now it doesn't really show too much color for sure. Okay, so I kind of brushed to here, and that's just sitting there. Now I'm going to go ahead and wet the next section, and then I'll apply the caramel color to it. Okay, so let's wet down the next section. Yeah, this is such a nice mist compared to that little sprayer. Try not to get too much moisture in my section I already stained. Guard here. And let's put this challenging guy on again. And we'll have a little section here where we got overlap. Yeah, like I said, it's really difficult to get the right pressure with this little thing. You can see it just goes on way too thick. So let that be a warning to you. Don't try this kind of sprayer for your final application. Okay, I'm going to let that sit. And I'll brush in the front of that. So this is the amber in the front, and this is the caramel. Okay, we're going to brush in the caramel section now. So far, I'd say there's a very subtle difference between the two colors. You can certainly see the difference though between bare cement and the stain. So now I've just mixed my sprayer with both 50% caramel, 50% amber. We'll do this last section after we wet it. And then we're going to come back tomorrow and see how it's changed, and we'll neutralize it and decide what we want to do going forward. So far, I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and mix both of my colors is my most likely thing that I'll end up doing. Plus, we'll have this nice little section of overlap here too where we can see how that worked. I just closed off my nozzle to see if I could get a little finer stream here. And it's just, this thing has absolutely no control on it. It is what it is. It's ridiculous. I know I keep harping on it, but don't try this at home. It just completely pools it on. I'll probably have to brush in that whole section just to make sure it's even enough. Now, what I have read is that this is going to dry to like a chalky film. And then once you neutralize it and rinse all the acid off, then you'll finally get a true idea for what it's going to look like. So you can already see that this caramel's darkening up. And so by rights, tomorrow when we come back, we should have lightest, medium, darkest over here. All right, it is day 2, and man, do we have some lessons learned from yesterday. This is exactly why you do a test plot, and really glad I did this. It taught me a lot. So one of the things I discovered last night is I got back and I was looking at this and I was like, why is this? I knew I had the amber and the caramel in there, and they look so similar to me. And you can barely tell the difference between anything here other than obviously the thick areas and things that we figured out. But I discovered last night that I was sent one of the wrong colors because I was supposed to have a coffee color, which was much darker. And then I got the amber color to kind of neutralize it a little bit if I wanted it to lighten it. But this caramel, even though it's not a ton different than the amber, it's way redder than I want. I want more of a brownish tone. But glad I did this test because it taught me a lot of things. So first off, I figured out, you know, in the back there is where I just sprayed it on without brushing it. And you can, this is such a light color, even with the first coat, that it really didn't even do the justice to the coverage. Here was the one that we changed the color in the back and didn't really brush it, so it gives you a little bit more variation, but it still looks a little too inconsistent for me. And then this was that mixture color. Again, you can hardly tell anything on it, so I guess it looks quite a bit different than, you know, plain cement. And obviously this hasn't been sealed yet, but it's very inconsistent looking. So the big lesson I learned yesterday that you saw is make sure that you're using the correct sprayer, because I tried to use that cheaper little sprayer and that thing was so inconsistent, it was ridiculous. And then I think I would want to, no matter what I do here, I think I want to brush it in, because I think that that gives you the best result, is to brush it in, at least for my needs. So what I'm going to do now is, even though this isn't exactly the color I want, I'm going to try to even it out now. So I'm going to go back over this with the sprayer I should have used yesterday, try to make sure I get kind of an even coat on everywhere. And then I'm going to brush it in, and then we'll let that set up. We'll come back and see if we at least evened it out. So that's the beauty of this stain, at least, is you can keep going on it until you neutralize and seal it. So I may even come over this later with some of the brown just to see how that looks over top of this. But for right now, I just at least want to even out this coverage. So guys, I actually went over this test plot once more since I got my new color. I've used my new color, the coffee, for my main porch that I'll be showing you, and then I mixed it with that amber color that they sent. Now I'm neutralizing it with baking soda and water, and then I'll come back and seal this section later. You need about 8 ounces of baking soda and a gallon of water, so a cup, and I find it's just easy to put it in the sprayer, mix it up, versus just dabbing the baking soda down and then watering it in. It doesn't quite do the job. Okay guys, so I'm going to wrap up this test plot video. This is what it looked like at the end of the day, with 2 coats of glossy sealer on it. Sealer's kind of subdued, it's not too glossy, but this basically ended up, then we had the amber, we had the caramel, and then I went over it at the end with some leftover coffee that I should have had in the first place from my front porch project. So this also has a mixture of amber and coffee. So if you kind of like what you see here for this color, I would say get yourself some amber and some coffee. And you tune in on my next video. I will show you how the front porch ended up. That's definitely much darker because it's much more coffee. But overall, I think it's still important to find yourself a test pad and use that. I think it's good experience before you get on to the main event, if you will. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if this is helpful, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, Tennessee Yankee. Thanks for watching. If you found this content helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your right. I have other content linked for you on the left side. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.